Hi, I'm Laura Marinas, and welcome to my technology assignment for the Soul of Teaching, TESP 503. Teaching is often referred to as a job, sometimes a career, or even a profession, but it is far more than that. We consider the choice as a way of life or even a way of being. The teacher's journey represents a lifelong commitment to learning, not only about your content area, grade level, curricular changes, school policy, and technological innovations, but about true passion for new knowledge and skills that make you more effective as a professional and a human being. Growing up, my mother was a teacher. She taught from kindergarten at a local Christian school until I was about 7 years old. She then went on to teach high school and college. I always saw how much joy it brought her, but I never thought it was for me. My true passion was running. I found so much comfort training and competing. My sister and I, we're twins, were the kids who woke up at 4 a.m. when the gym opened to ride the bike for an hour before heading to school to make sure that we got extra training in. We wanted to make sure that we weren't seen from anybody's family, which is why we went when it opened and we were out before anyone we knew would be there. We both went to college on scholarships for cross country and track. Since running was my passion, studying kinesiology made sense. To no surprise, my favorite class was exercise physiology. My college running career ended after my third break in my right foot. Along the way, I met many physical therapists who I loved very much, so I thought, why not help people in the way that I had been helped? Post-college, I worked at a physical therapy office for about 2 years as an aide while I studied to get into physical therapy school. As I was at work one day, I felt a sense of dissatisfaction. Something was missing. I was dreading going to work, and the thought of touching people all day for a living seemed like something I could not imagine doing. So I decided to take a leap of faith and quit my job as a physical therapy aide and trust that God would lead me in the right direction. At the age of 26, I believe that teaching found me. I was sitting in church about 2 months after quitting my job, and I heard God tell me, "Why don't you try teaching?" The following day, I signed up for the CBEST and began to substitute teach. I haven't looked back since. It was very clear to me that it was my personal calling to help people in a way that I hadn't seen before. I believe that I have been called to teaching as a gift from God to help inspire and teach young minds, to nurture the future, in the hope of creating a better world for upcoming generations. Teaching is one of the most direct and effective ways of having a positive influence on future members of society. Growing up, I never felt smart. I was constantly compared to my twin sister who always had better grades. I believe that I have been called to teach to help those students who don't feel smart and are not your typical straight-A students to feel worthy of an education. To this day, I still struggle with feeling smart enough. When I think about the word of resilience, I think about it as our attempt to deal with a lack of connection, community, and wholeness. I think about the personal relationships that I have built throughout the years. It's not how many relationships I have, but how strong and stable they are. When our personal relationships, marriages, and friendships are strong, we laugh more, feel more supported, and are healthier. I think about the relationships that I have made as a substitute teacher and as a waitress at Stone Brewery. I have only been substitute teaching for about 2 years now, but I have met one third grade teacher in particular, Miss Tominski, who has been like a mentor to me. I'm the only substitute teacher that she uses in her class, and she always offers me support in my work, both emotionally and intellectually. Miss Tominski understands the struggles of a substitute teacher and how different classes can be when you jump from classroom to classroom on a day-to-day basis. She offers support and strategies to me, not only on her class, but on the other classes that I have substituted for. Some ways in which I anticipate having to exercise resilience as a teacher include knowing myself, understanding my emotions, building a community, and taking care of myself. When it comes to knowing myself, really taking the time to reflect on and get clear about my values, preferences, skills, and aptitudes is really important way to be successful in practicing resilience as a teacher. This will allow me to more likely be able to respond to difficult situations in ways that are consistent with that purpose. Emotions can be tremendous resources and sources of energy. The key is figuring out how to have healthier relationships with them, how to understand them, name them, accept them, and then work with them. By building a community, it will allow me to develop habits that nurture relationships with my colleagues, students, parents, and administrators. If we to help strengthen our resilience. Teaching can be a very lonely experience, and I think anything that we can do to begin cementing those connections will just help me as a future educator. By taking care of myself, it will allow me to build a community. It is really hard to build community or to cultivate compassion or become a learner, some of the other habits, when you're just sick and worn out. When I think about how my faith will connect with my values as a teacher, I think of this quote. As teachers, God has given us an important area of influence, and we have the awesome responsibility and privilege to be the light in a dark world. As Christians, we cannot compartmentalize our faith. If we truly believe in Christ and desire to follow Him, then our faith should impact every aspect of our lives, no matter what our vocation is. As teachers, God has given us an important area of influence. Although there is a good chance that I will be teaching at a public school where I will not be able to talk openly about my faith, I will allow my faith to shine through me. I will always pray for my students and their families as a part of my daily prayers. I will also always practice my same habits as a Christian without forcing my beliefs on any one of my students. I will also be open to educating my students about faith and the different religions that go on throughout the world. When it comes to cultural beliefs, I cannot think of anything specifically that has influenced my desire to become a teacher. I believe that I am being called to teach. I believe that God has blessed me with this passion to nurture the future. When I think about my philosophy as a teacher, this quote comes to mind. If a child can't learn the way we teach, maybe we should teach the way they learn. By Ignacio Estrada. Teaching and education are not one-size-fits-all. I grew up during the times when education was one-size-fits-all curriculum, which made learning very difficult. All of our students have very different ways in which they learn best. If we want our children to be successful, we need to set them up for success by teaching to their individual learning needs. We cannot assume that one size fits all is going to reach every student that we come encounter with. APU has really done a good job in opening my eyes to new ways of teaching and learning. I believe that differentiation is a huge part of setting up our students for success. I believe that APU has taught me to be a successful teacher in the future.